All right. Hello, everybody. Thanks for jumping on with us today. If you're watching the recording, thanks for watching the recording. My name is Jesse Hill. I'm the president of Tier 3 IT Solutions. And today we're going to be just taking you through a short discussion presentation around this concept of cyber resilience. And really, you'll hear this term a couple times throughout, this idea of bouncing back like a pro. So today's agenda, you can see it on the screen here. Obviously being an IT services provider and working extensively in cybersecurity, we see cyber threats everywhere. And so we want to talk a little bit about that. We're going to explain this difference between cyber resilience and cybersecurity. It's interesting because there's a lot of people, even in our own industry, that haven't heard this term, cyber resilience. We'll talk about the 6 core elements that you can take a look at to strengthen and move towards that resilience mindset, the benefits of being cyber resilient. I'm not going to pretend it's easy. There are challenges that you're going to face. And so we'll talk about those. And then a couple of practical steps that you can take to your organization today to get started. We've got our chat and our Q&A going. So if you have any questions or comments or thoughts that come up, throw them in there. I'm joined by Tin Mar, our sales operations analyst, and she's going to be watching that and letting me know if there's anything that comes up that we should talk about. So, like I mentioned at the beginning there, cyber threats are everywhere. And this is, as an IT services provider, one of the primary areas that we need to focus on in practice. Ignoring cyber threats is not an option. And unfortunately, a lot of businesses have kind of taken that approach where they just feel like the risk doesn't apply to them. And so they're not going to necessarily take steps to protect themselves. You can see a couple examples on here, some of the more common types of threats that we've seen businesses face. Ransomware, which is essentially a piece of malware or an infection that gets on a computer. It encrypts your data and forces you to make a decision about how you're going to recover operations. They want you to pay a ransom, hence the name ransomware. But they're also starting to layer in things like data extortion and other things, and it's a growing threat for businesses of all sizes. We've got phishing attacks, which are a really common way for cyber criminals to get their way into a network. Essentially, they send an email that looks like a legitimate email. It might be asking for some information. It tricks an employee into clicking on a link or a document and sharing a username and password, which typically starts off by leading into that BEC, business email compromise. Just think about the value of a business email account, how much it interacts with the outside world, and what it would mean to be able to impersonate somebody else by controlling their email. And then social engineering. This is a favorite tactic of almost all cyber criminal gangs. We're starting to see more sophisticated attacks being leveraged through AI platforms and deep fakes and voice simulations. And essentially what they're doing is they are using these approaches to pose as a trusted individual. They're trying to create urgency and ultimately trying to trick or fool employees into sharing confidential information or gaining access to your technology. So any one of these or other cyber threats that are out there can disrupt your operations, compromise sensitive information, erode the trust that your customers and your vendors and your employees have in your business. And so you need to consider these things and move beyond just straight cybersecurity tools and protections and embrace cyber resilience, which of course is what we're here talking about today. So let's talk a little bit about how cyber resilience differs from cyber security. So the definition of cyber resilience is simple. It's the ability to anticipate, withstand, recover from, and adapt to adverse conditions like cyber attacks or system failures. We started off, we talked about the risks that your business faces from cyber attacks, but other technology risk also exists. How would your business respond to a multi-day power outage, or the internet line outside your building gets severed? So when we think about cyber resilience, we're thinking very broadly about not just cyber attacks, but how to maintain operations. So cyber resilience goes beyond traditional cybersecurity. So like I said, while cybersecurity generally focuses on preventing attacks, resilience is about preparing for the reality that not all attacks can be stopped. And so it's important for businesses of all sizes. And by focusing on resilience, you can help protect your data and operations, safeguard your reputation, and minimize downtime, all without breaking the bank. So let's talk about the 6 core elements that make up this approach to resilience. So I've kind of talked a little bit here about what cybersecurity is, and you can see that it's still an essential component of a cyber resilient business. So we of course have to continue to invest in good cybersecurity tools and subscriptions and policies. We need to use proactive measures like regular security assessments, threat intelligence. And by doing these things, you can reduce your vulnerability and reduce your risk. The analogy I use often is, you know, people who get their vehicles, stolen or, rummaged around aren't typically finding that it's a sophisticated approach of picking locks and, hot wiring them. People are pulling on open door handles, and the ones that are unlocked are the vehicles that become compromised. Same thing with technology. We need to have those basic protections in place. Incident response. Now, this is a really big, broad topic. And really what this is about is making sure that your organization, beyond just management and the IT department, understand how to respond to a cyber incident. A lot of business people haven't really thought about the fact that when you're unable to serve your clients because your systems have been locked by ransomware, your public relations team, your communications team, your legal team, your HR team all have a role and certain things that they can and can't say and should do in the case of an incident. And the time to educate them and prepare them for that is before they need to know what to do. So business continuity is about making sure that you have backup plans, disaster recovery plans, and essentially making sure that you can maintain your critical operations in the case of an incident. Adaptability. So cyber threats evolve and change. So your defenses and your protections and your approach need to change over time as well. So you need to stay informed about new trends. You need to learn from past incidents and make sure that your team as a whole is continuing to evolve, which leads into employee awareness, making sure that they're participating in regular training and not just, the basic, what does a phishing email look like, but what to do in the case of a cyber incident. How can they help make your business more secure rather than becoming the weak link in the chain? And then regulatory compliance. Now, in Canada, of course, we have regulations around personal information and payment, like PCI compliance. But probably the biggest one that most businesses need to comply with is their cyber insurance provider. When you're applying for a policy, they're going to ask you very specific questions about how they measure risk in your business. And the more of these items you do, the more likely you are to get a favorable term from your insurance provider, and also, potentially better coverages and lower rates. And then the last part of regulatory compliance is we're starting to see clients suppliers asking from their customers what their cybersecurity approach or their cyber resilience approach looks like, because they don't want to be out of operation because one of their suppliers is down from a cyber incident. So let's talk about the benefits of approaching cyber resilience as a business priority. So the first thing here is protection. Yes, cybersecurity tools and subscriptions are going to help protect you, but the more you practice, the more you carry this through other departments, the more you're going to recognize areas of vulnerability, areas where you can improve. And so it's like a proactive shield for your operations. Continuity is, again, like we said earlier, making sure that if there is a disruption, whatever form that disruption comes in, that you're able to, in some sense, continue operating your business. You can continue to serve your customers. You can continue to, show your value to them as a partner. The reputation component is a big one. Like kind of going back to that continuity. If you're unable to serve your clients, they're going to look elsewhere. If this happens more than once, they're going to start to doubt that you are a trustworthy, reliable, partner and provider for them. So by showing your network, your partners, that you're pursuing cyber resilience, they can feel confident that their information is safe with you, that you're a strong, reliable part of their supply chain. And then we just mentioned on compliance, so aligning you with whatever those regulatory requirements are that you're facing, helping you to avoid penalties and maintaining that competitive edge, are all really important benefits of pursuing, this heightened level, which we call cyber resilience. Now, I'm not going to pretend that it's easy to pursue this. When we think about cyber resilience, there are huge benefits, but there's also challenges to getting there. So the first one here, the evolving threat landscape. We need to all recognize that cyber criminals are finding new ways to exploit vulnerabilities, and keeping up with that challenge requires vigilance on the part of our team, our management, our IT team, because when we go to sleep tonight and we wake up tomorrow, there's likely going to be new threats, new vulnerabilities that we're not aware of yet, and we need to continue to learn and adapt to those. Resource constraints. I mean, we all, as business owners, recognize we have limited amounts that we can invest into, certain areas of the business. And this is part of the reason that small and medium businesses are targeted more and suffer larger consequences than some of the big businesses out there, because cyber criminals know that you have a lower budget assigned to cybersecurity and cyber resilience than a major bank. So as small and medium business owners, we need to think about that, and we need to assign the right amount to this. Complexity. It's amazing to think about how fast businesses are changing, how many different tools and platforms they're using, and how overwhelming it can feel to try to grasp and protect everything that's going on while continuing to maintain that pace of change and adoption. And then the awareness component. So we find, even within our client base, when we're talking to them and taking them through some of these processes, that a lot of employees and even leadership may not fully understand the exposure and the threat that they're facing, the importance of resilience, and that what they don't know aspect can lead to gaps in their defenses. So we all need to recognize these challenges and take the first step toward overcoming them. So let's talk about a couple of things that we can do to help your business become more resilient. And I talk about this one quite frequently within our training with our clients, the NIST cybersecurity framework. So this is a framework developed by the National Institute of Science and Technology in the US. And you can see they have 5 kind of aspects on here. And they actually added a 6th component, which is governance. And governance really is management, leadership, policy, the business operations. And it spans all 5 of these aspects. So we first of all want to start there. But moving from left to right, we're talking about being proactive on the left. When we get to the middle, we're becoming reactive, and then on the right, you can see we're recovering. So the first step, identify, is about understanding what you're protecting. Taking inventory of your critical assets, including your sensitive data, IT systems, vendor relationships, because you have to recognize your weak points so that you can focus your efforts where they're needed most. Protect, once you know what you have and what the vulnerabilities are, then you can start making decisions about what safeguards you should put in place to protect them. Putting in obvious things like advanced firewalls, data encryption, access controls. This is really your first line of defense against cyber threats. Then we move into detect, which by identifying and protecting, detect is when we're using monitoring tools to spot unusual activity, setting up alerts, because the faster you detect an issue, the quicker you can respond. So a common example we would see in this, I mentioned earlier, business email compromise. Setting up a monitoring system so that if somebody logs into their email in Edmonton, Alberta at 10 a.m. and then they log in from Dublin, Ireland at 1 p.m., we know it's physically impossible to travel that distance. And so there are tools that will detect that and alert us that there's unlikely travel. Well, now we can take a look and we can reach out to that user, try to understand what's happening, and potentially prevent an extended period that somebody's in their email. Respond is what I just described. When we get an alert, we need to have a well-documented incident response plan. That example I just gave is a cyber incident. Somebody has logged into an email account that shouldn't be there. So we need to have playbooks and plans to know who needs to do what, how are we responding to that crisis, how are we minimizing downtime, and ultimately the damage that could come from it. And then recover. So after the immediate threat is resolved, we need to focus on recovery. So backup systems and recovery plans are essential here to restore normal operations. We need to learn from the incident and use that learning to strengthen our defenses in the future. So when you put these together, these will help you move towards being a more cyber resilient business. Cyber resilience is not a destination, it's a journey, and you don't have to take it alone. So our team is here to help and support you every step of the way. We can help you assess your current strategies, identify vulnerabilities, and implement effective solutions tailored to your business. So together, we can build a safer, stronger future for your company. So please reach out, schedule a consultation, and we can help you take that first step to protecting your business from cyber threats. Now, we do have a couple of kind of notes here. One thing that we do offer is a no obligation network security assessment and review. And you can see we've got some pricing on there. For attending the webinar today, we do offer it at a discounted price as a thank you for being here. And so basically what we're going to do with that is we're going to run a couple of assessments, vulnerability scans externally, also internally. We're going to prepare some reports. We're going to review that with you. So it's kind of that baseline of where you're at. And we provide access to cybersecurity awareness training for you and your team for 60 days. We also provide proactive IT management solutions that incorporate many of these aspects and work with you to develop this cyber resilience aspect within your business. And again, we'd be happy to talk to you about that more as well. So let's move on to our Q&A. So we do, like I mentioned, have chat and the Q&A open. We have a couple, I know sometimes people are a little bit shy to put their hand up. So we do have a couple FAQs that we'll talk about. So first of all, question we get asked, a lot is, can our IT company make us cyber resilient? And I mean, the short answer is no. This is something that requires all areas of your business to understand how they contribute to the cybersecurity and cyber resilience of your business. So we're going to play a key part in this process. We're going to help guide you through it. We're going to educate you. We're going to take you through some of those incident response simulations. But your business is different than the person beside you's business. And so we can give you the tools and the information and the education, but ultimately it's up to you to take that and design the process for your business. Can we get insurance to protect us from these kinds of risks? So yes, there are cyber insurance and cyber crime and cyber extortion policies available out there. However, insurance policies are designed to protect you from unforeseen or unavoidable risks. And keep in mind, I'm not a licensed insurance broker, so please talk to your insurance partner about what's available and the good, bad, the ugly of those policies. But suffice it to say that an insurance company is only going to provide coverage in the case where you have done all that you can to avoid a risk. So a simple example would be, if you had fire insurance on your home and a fire started, and they came in afterwards and did an inspection and found out that your smoke detectors were not working, you didn't have any fire extinguishers, you were using your furnace room to store old, dry, flammable materials. Well, they might actually deny your coverage because you could have been seen as being negligent in living up to the expectations of the policy. The same thing in cyber. If you're not doing these things to protect your business, your insurance may or may not cover you. The other thing is that insurance is reactive and slow, and the interruption to your business from a large cyber incident may well exceed the coverages that are available in a typical policy. So you need to prepare to avoid and minimize those incidents. And then I think the last one here, probably as you're hearing all of this thinking, I mean, geez, we already spend a lot on cybersecurity. How much more will this cost? And I think, again, this is a legitimate question. However, a lot of what we're talking about here is about training and educating and supporting your team and working with them to understand and appreciate the importance of technology in your business today. So while you might believe that you're spending a lot on cybersecurity, to be direct and blunt, you're probably not spending enough. As a percentage of your operations, think about how much of your business depends on technology. Meaning, if you had no technology tomorrow, what would your business operations look like? And for most businesses, it's essential. So if it's that important, you need to make sure that you're investing appropriately into that. So what that number is for each business, I can't really say. Um, there is some additional cost to pursuing this in most cases, but it not only helps improve your cybersecurity, it actually helps you run a better business as well. So I'm just going to say thank you all for joining. I hope that we have a chance to talk to you directly, one-on-one. We'll hang around. We'll stop the recording here. We'll hang around and answer any specific questions that people might have. But thanks again for joining. Appreciate it. Have a great day.